The reason I recommend gold, silver, and Bitcoin is not because I'm in favor of gold, silver, and Bitcoin. The reason I recommend gold, silver, and Bitcoin is I don't trust my government. It's not Biden or Trump or those guys. I mean, they're all a bunch of criminals anyway. If you trust the US government, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Treasury, then save dollars, work hard, pay your taxes. At the same time, they're printing trillions. We have never in the history of the world had so many dollars printed. And as I've said in other tweets, is that people get really happy when they're printing money, but they get depressed when it comes down. So the reason I say to people, buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin is very simply, gold and silver are God's money. I have traveled the world looking for gold. And I remember being in the mountains of Peru, and it's really sad. Peru is such a great place, but the country's under attack. It's horrible what's going on right now. But I've been up at 14,000 to 17,000 feet looking at gold mines. I remember I could barely walk at 14,000 feet. There's no oxygen up there. But I'm looking up there, and they have these barren hills, and there's little holes drilled along the hills. That's the gold vein. That was the vein of gold. And so long before the Spanish came to South America or Peru, the Inca or the indigenous people were drilling for gold. And then I went over to Mongolia. So I go to Mongolia, and long before the internet and cell phones, the Mongolians were digging for gold. And that's when I got it, that gold and silver are God's money. I found silver in Argentina, and I still own that mine. So throughout history, there is some kind of attraction of human beings to gold and silver. Why? I don't know. But that's why I would say gold and silver are God's money. And then years later, I was in Fiji. And I was in Fiji, and I met this guy named Guru Deva. He's an Indian. He's not Indian, but he's a Hindu, but he's a white guy. So he's a white guy dressed in Indian clothes, and he was dripping in gold. So, being the inquisitive type, I asked him, I said, how come you're covered in gold? And so this Indian guru says to me, because gold is our God's tears. I said, gold's God's tears? What does that mean? He says, when you wear gold, gold attracts wealth. 1964, I started collecting silver because I noticed there was a copper tinge around dimes and quarters, and it's called Gresham's Law. Gresham's Law states was when phony money enters the system, real money goes into hiding. So in 1964, I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I saw this copper tinge around this dime, and I said, what the hell's going on? I take $1 or something, and I get, some roll of dimes and stuff like this, and I go through the dimes, and I take out all the ones with the copper tinge and give it back to the bank and keep the real silver. And then in 1971, August 15th, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and he announced it during the television program Bonanza. And I was in Camp Pendleton, California, getting ready to go to Vietnam. But I was flying in Vietnam when I realized that I didn't know anything about gold. I was flying for the Marine Corps when my rich dad sent me a letter saying, watch out, the world's going to change. And the world changed because President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard on August 15th, 1971.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
But back then in the 70s, being on an aircraft carrier, I didn't get that letter for like 6 months. That's how long it took to get to me. But he warned me that the world would change, and I didn't really understand it at the time. But that's when my curiosity about gold and money and all this really changed. Financial crisis started back in 1971. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know until 72. When I flew behind enemy lines to go buy some gold, and I didn't know what gold was. It was illegal for Americans to own gold in 1972. And I thought that was really strange. And so I flew behind enemy lines and looked for a gold mine. And I walked up to this little Vietnamese woman who was selling gold at a gold mine in Vietnam. One problem was it was behind enemy lines now because we were losing our war, got our asses kicked. And gold used to be 35 an ounce, and it was now floating around 50. So I thought maybe because I'm behind enemy lines, I have greenback, I have dollars, I was in a negotiating position. And she looked at me, and I don't think she went to Harvard or anything, but she just looked at me and she just laughed at my partner and I, my co-pilot, and she goes, "Spot." I said, "What is spot?" And I was being educated. And what I found out a few days later, that spot means that's the price of gold all over the world. I mean, price has a uniform, gold has a uniform price, which means it's real money. Then I realized that's God's money. You know, if I get the atomic number and silver has an atomic number, the US dollar doesn't. So I became very, very suspicious of the US dollar. So our aircraft carrier group, I was a flying alpha carrier, and went to Hong Kong, and I went looking for gold. I didn't know what it looked like. And finally I found a South African Krugerrand, and I bought it, and then I found out I had to smuggle it into the US like a criminal, you know, because it was illegal since 1933, I believe, to own gold. And I thought, this is really strange. Really strange. So I come back from the war. Thank God around 1974 or 75, I think it was Gerald Ford made gold legal for Americans to own. And then I started looking at the dollar, then inflation hit and all this. I remember going, I think in the 70s and 80s now, I'd go into the restaurants and they would actually have to change the restaurant price every day. And this whole real life events got me to become a gold and silver bug. Let me tell you something. I'd rather store gold than dollars. And the same as silver. I'd rather store silver. Coins. I have no ETFs. I don't trust those things. Now, if you trust them, fine. It's like if Dave Ramsey says live debt free, live debt free. Tony Robbins says buy ETFs, buy ETFs. I don't do those things. You want $1,000 of income, keep $1,000 worth of gold, because gold is the attractor. So you want $10,000 a month? Hold $10,000 in gold.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.